good morning, darling. Good afternoon, good evening, good night to some people. Today, we're having sake because I'm going to talk about being married in Japan in a Shinto ceremony to Mel Belli. I've been promising that, and now I'm going to do it. I left off with me breaking up with Mel Belli. And he called me in the middle of the night, like midnight. And then, baby, I'm in my office. I miss you. I'm lonely. Come and let's have a farewell drink. And so I was missing him too. So I went down to his office. And when I got there, and his office was like a bordello inside, because it had all this red velvet and flocked wallpaper, amazing office. And so when I got there were 24 red roses for me, like, okay, Mel, what are you doing there, honey? And he sat down and he started, nuzzling and saying, I really want to marry you, baby. And I said, Mel, I can't marry you. You drink too much. That scares me. I don't want to be married to a drunk, and you get out of hand when you're drinking, and you become obnoxious, and I don't want that in my life. So he said, okay, I'll fix that. And he walked into his office, so help me God, and he had a bar in his office. And he got all these bottles of vodka and JB and whatever it is, all the bourbon and scotch, and he threw it, and the floors were outside. I was on the terrace, and they were flagstone, and so he threw the bottle after bottle after bottle, and the glass was going everywhere, and this alcohol smell was penetrating the place, and it was like a bartender's bouquet, that aroma. And he said, you see, I'll never drink again. I'm destroying my stock. And I, inside myself, I knew he would drink again. I knew what I was getting into. And I said, okay. And he said he was general counsel for Japan Airlines. And he was supposed to go there to give a speech. And he would like for me to go with him, and we could get married there in a Shinto ceremony. Well, honey, I thought, oh, my mama will have a fit, which was reason enough. So I did it. And we get to Japan after drinking sake on the airplane, and Mel was just, he couldn't have been more romantic. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is all right. And he had an office in Japan, I found out. And all these people met us at the airport, and they were not throwing rice, nor were they topless. They were wearing suits, and they were bowing, and they were very obsequious with Mel. And the next day, one of them drove us to Hokkaido, where we were going to be married. And Mel had taken care of all the details. I didn't know, I learned, darling, I learned. And on the way there, we passed a place where they had a bear in a cage. And Mel said, that's cruel and unusual punishment. And he said to this underling who was with him, get out there and buy that bear and liberate it, and then have it shipped to San Francisco. And I go like, what are you doing? And the guy did it. He got out, he bought the bear. Anyway, we finally end up in Hokkaido, and we were staying at this beautiful inn. Oh, it was beautiful. And because we were obviously what we were, Caucasian and big people compared to the Japanese, and these lovely housekeepers in this place, this inn, came to our door, and they were wearing, kimono and the clogs, and they were just so sweet, and they were giggling and giggling and giggling. They wanted to look at us. So we opened the door and let them look at us. And they giggled and bowed, and oh God, they'd never seen anyone like us before. So that was just a sweet, sweet incident. And outside of the inn was a brook, and I could hear the water, at night. It was wonderful, lovely. And the next day we went to get dressed for the wedding. Well, it was not like any wedding I had ever seen. And I go to the house for the brides, and there were 6 attendants. Yes, 6, to dress me. And I was dressed in, they have several garments underneath the outer brocade garment. And they were in different colors to represent different things, like purple and green and blue and pink. So I was well padded. And then they oh, I gotta keep drinking the sake to tell this story, darling. That was such a lovely experience. Sitting there with these women giggling and just being so sweet to me, and they made up my face. Now, I didn't expect to be made up in white makeup, the traditional look of a Japanese bride, that pasty white makeup and red lipstick, and then a wig of black hair, and over the front of the wig was a white cloth. And that cloth, I said, what's that for? Well, it turned out that was to hide horns of jealousy in their thinking in the ritual of a Japanese bride in the Shinto ceremony. And they then put an obi around the outer garment, which was heavy brocade and just beautiful. And it was embroidered in gold thread. And they put a little sword, a tiny little sword right down in the obi. And they said, that's to stop jealousy. Everything's about jealousy. No, I'm sorry. That was to protect my honor. Well, I could have used it as it turned out, but I didn't. So, anyway, this is a beautiful thing that I'm doing, and it's just gorgeous. And Mel came in wearing a tailcoat, but he couldn't wear the tabis, which is the white kind of covering for the feet. They have a place for the toe and then the rest of the foot. And they were all too small for his big feet. So he was wearing cowboy boots, which he loved. And so off we go to the wedding chapel. And the chapel wasn't what we think of. It was a shrine, a wedding shrine. It was open like a stage onto a meadow. And inside, we were led up some steps, and then there were big puffy cushions for us to sit on, and they were white. And we both had our own cushion, and there were all kinds of people around us, and I don't know what they were all doing, but there was the priest, of course, the Shinto priest, and several other people who had gongs in front of them, and periodically they would hit the gongs. But we were open like a stage to the meadow, and they told us to stand at one point, and we did. And they gave us each, we had to drink 3 lacquer red cups of rice wine. And so we did. You didn't have to drink it all, but that was the ritual. And then we were married. And there was a lot more to it, but read it in my book, Whispers from God. In fact, I got it out this is the hardback, Oh, the Hell of It All. And that's a better title, I think. And I wrote about that part. And we turned around, and I could not believe it. There were so many people who had come to watch this ceremony, and among them, Mel whispered to me and said, Newsweek, Time, Life. Oh my God, there were reporters from all over the world there. And Mel had promised me that we wouldn't do that we wouldn't let them know, but of course we did. So after the wedding, and we were to go to a fish and sake reception. And I had my own car, and Mel had his car, and he started really playing up to one of the reporters, a female reporter. And I'm feeling like I'm going to use that little dagger here, honey. You better watch out. I'm armed. But after the ceremony and at the reception, Mel drank, of course, and it was pretty awful. But that doesn't, I still want to remember that ceremony. So beautiful. And I learned a lot about Shinto religion, which is believing that God is in everything. The flowers, the rocks, everything. And I believe that way. So I learned a lot. And darling, let's just keep drinking today. Today I have a reason to drink. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after that, it will be the aftermath of that wedding, which you don't want to miss. Bye.